Hey, what's up, YouTube? It's Richie from Boston. I still don't know what the date is, but it's still Wednesday. It's like the 3rd or 4th of June, one of the two, at any rate. So, for all the doubting Thomases, for all the people that believe in the system and think this is completely organic, let me remind you of something, okay? Way back in the old days, before COVID-19 and the entire world stopped, do you really think, well, let me tell you one thing, let's do this. Do you really think that gay and lesbians, the agenda, and transgender, and teaching children about drag queens at 5 years old, teaching children about the joys of anal sex and gay sex in elementary school, do you really think that was the organic progression of things? No, it was an agenda. And you know how they started that entire ball? That's called demoralization of the country. Take away people's ability to speak out for what they know is wrong. Well, they used a thing called politically correct. It started on television because everything bad comes from television. If you've never watched my channel before, I've shown you the patents from the 60s that show you television was never made except to be a weapon of mass destruction. And
patent right here for nervous system manipulation by electromagnetic fields from monitors. Now, what does that mean? It means just what it sounds like. Here's a few diagrams from the patent. Do you see this? Does it make any sense now why they need everyone to have the highest resolution possible flat screen in their home? Why is it that that's all a rage? Why is it that they have gone through great pains in keeping people sitting in front of their televisions, laptops, computers, and cell phones? Because every single solitary one of those devices, first of all, is a scrying mirror. Now, what is a scrying mirror? If you follow my channel, you probably have a really good idea. It's quite similar and along the lines of a crystal ball, except it's a black mirror that's used to conjure otherworldly entities. 6506148B2. Actually, it's J2 6506148B2. The abstract of this is psychological effects have been observed in a human subject in response to stimulation of the skin with weak electromagnetic fields that are pulsed with certain frequencies near a half a hertz or 2.4 hertz, such as to excite a sensory resonance. Many computer monitors and TV tubes, when displayed pulse images, emit pulsed electromagnetic fields of sufficient amplitudes to cause such excitation.
the frequencies, the amount of times the pixels flash, etc., etc., and then, of course, the never-ending message. Television started politically correct, which made you afraid to say, I'm a straight, white American. Because so many people would jump on, you can't say that, that's upsetting. You're a white supremacist. No, I'm just making an observation. I'm not a gender. That's not a thing. Johns Hopkins University, I've shown you that as well. Johns Hopkins University and the College for Pediatricians have both published stories that I've published for you to see that you probably didn't see.
The American College of Pediatricians, Best for Children, notice the little symbol up top, they published an article several years ago, and then they updated it again on August 17th, 2016, where it explained things straight up. Even though this doesn't need an explanation, they explained it straight up and down. I'll leave links in the description. How no one is born with a gender. Everyone is born with a biological sex. Did you see that? Do you see that? Everyone is born with a biological sex. Gender, an awareness and sense of oneself as male or female, is a sociological and physiological concept, not an objective biological one. And yet, every single solitary day, this is foisted upon your children. and it's relentless. This is from Rebel Circus. 15 gender fluid celebs you need to know. First of all, to finish their experiment or their great work, they have to demasculinize men, and that's exactly what they're trying to do. And anyone that isn't a gender fluid, demasculinized man is targeted, victimized, or labeled. You see what I'm saying? Whatsoever at all. They're using propaganda against us. I showed you this right here. The Smith-Mundt Act was repealed. Americans should be in the street burning effigies and raising pitchforks about this. The fact that our government has flipped the Smith-Mundt Act around, they are allowed to use propaganda against their own people. You use propaganda against an enemy, period. That's what propaganda is. And yet they're using it against us, and people don't seem to see the difference. It doesn't, I don't get it. At any rate, John Hopkins, psychiatrist, this is from 2015, he wrote, transgender is a mental disorder, and a sex change is biologically impossible. These are the experts. These are the words that people should be talking about, not listening to stupid crap like this and this. You see what I'm saying? It's funny how many things have come out of Disney that are used against you. Anybody that's got children have Disney things in their house. If you don't, you're an absolute anomaly, and I doff my proverbial cap to you. But most people, for the most part, have a home full of children. They have a home full of Disney. This picture right here is a picture of Werner von Braun, a captured Nazi scientist that was brought home through Operation Paperclip to work for NASA to help build rockets, to help basically make more death. Here's a picture of him right here with Walt Disney. Disney played an enormous role in propagandizing the United States, in turning people into believing that NASA was something that was real, in turning science fiction into science fact.
That explain gender is a made-up Hollywood word. There's male and there's female, and they're called the sexes, not gender. But Hollywood tricked you into thinking if you stood up for yourself, if you said anything about suddenly everybody overnight becoming gay, even though the population of gay people is like 2%, the population of Christians is like 70%, but you would never know it. You would never know it. They've shamed people into believing and understanding the Bible isn't just a historical document. It also explains how you should and shouldn't live in this short period you're on Earth. At any rate, they bring in political correctness and make people afraid to stand up for what they believe because the masses will attack them. They trick you into voting for them by saying whatever, and then when they get into office, they do the exact polar opposite, and then you make excuses for them lying to you because of pride and ego.
Honored, very, very honored, when I heard that President Bill Clinton and Secretary Hillary Clinton was coming today, and I think it's appropriate to say, and I'd like you to stand up. I'd like you to stand up. And honestly, there's nothing more I can say because I have a lot of respect for those two people. So thank you all for being here.
And then you make excuses for them lying to you because of pride and ego. But honestly, do you really think in a town of 2,500, I should look out the window? Half the time I look out there, the American flag isn't even flying on the flagpole, which is a travesty. The other half the time when it's flying, it's at half-mast for one of these never-ending events that we have. But before I left yesterday, I looked out the window, and the flag was flying, and then there was a LBGT flag, LGBT, whatever it is, gay and lesbian flag, flying under it. I live on an island with 2,500 people. Nobody on my street's gay. Do you know what I'm saying? Nobody asked me. Nobody asked anybody. They have pushed this agenda on you, whether you like it or not. Television would lead you to believe that everybody's in an interracial relationship, everybody's gay, and children that are 5 years old should be on Good Morning America because they're so brave that they discovered that this little 5-year-old boy was actually a 5-year-old girl. That's bad parenting. But at any rate, all of these absolutely ridiculous agendas that have been foisted on us got us to where we are right now. People don't look any further than the top search results on Google to research anything. And let me explain something to you. A lot of us have been researching a long time. A year ago, Google completely changed the algorithm, and Google wants it so that when you ask it a question, there's only one answer. People are literally bringing listening devices into their houses. Do you really need an Alexa in your house? Do you see what I'm saying? We were telling you for years, your cell phone is not only watching and listening, even when it's off, but it's tracking you at all times, even when it's off. And once COVID came out, they told you, and nobody cared because everybody's so upset and concerned about a virus that's going to kill everyone. The problem is, even on its face, even if they weren't lying, which they are, because if more than half of it's a lie, all of it's a lie. Usually I would say if some of it's a lie, all of it's a lie, but more than half of this entire COVID story is a lie, all of it's a lie. Even if their numbers were accurate, it's 0.007% of people on Earth caught COVID. The amount of people that died from COVID is like 0.00046. I'm driving, so I don't have it in front of me, but I looked it up and I stay on it. That's not a pandemic. It's absolutely nothing. This week, 2.5 more million people are on unemployment. Food has been completely and utterly disrupted. And it's not real. But all of this was to stop America. Stop America. COVID, its job was to completely turn everything on its head. I'm in America, I'm free. Yeah, you're free as long as you stay at home, shelter in place. When you go out, you have to dress a certain way. We need you to wear a mask at all times, even though, according to their story, this entire disease spawned from Wuhan, China. You ever notice anything about China? They're always wearing masks, and yet we got a pandemic from them. Do you ever think about that? Probably not, but you should. I'm not wearing a mask, and I haven't worn a mask, and I haven't stayed at home, and I haven't sheltered in place, and I haven't locked in. I'm not going to breathe my own carbon dioxide. I'm not an imbecile that believes Bill Nye, the science guy, telling me that CO2 in the sky is bad for living things. CO2 is plant food. CO2 is an integral part of photosynthesis. Without it, trees, bees, birds, and everything else die. And that's exactly what's happening. Half the planet has magically died off because of these cell phone towers absolutely everywhere. But I'm just rambling along here. But everything I'm telling you is accurate. They have literally got you to the spot where the dude, the KGB guy from 40 years ago or 30 years ago said, even when they're done with their mindfuck program, which they did like 3 times over, 3 times more than necessary for the United States, just to be sure, when you show people proof of something, if it's not what the mainstream tells them, they can never hear it. And now it makes sense. Because I didn't catch that. I did yesterday, and now it makes sense. believe it or not, 2 buildings coming down faster than the laws of physics would allow, that's a problem, people. That is a problem. And nobody saw it as such. So once they get away with things over and over and over and over again, doing something like this is textbook. This is textbook. The disease ain't real, but the fear sure was. The consequences will, and it's kicked open the door for them. America is crippled. Before COVID, you could go to the store. You could basically do what you want. Just don't hurt anybody else and don't be an asshole. Now, that's not the case. Been to a bar lately? You've been to a concert? A sporting event? Have you gone to the supermarket any way you felt like, shirt, shoes, etc., and bought whatever you wanted? You can't, right? You can't. And that's going to get worse. And the fact that anybody that owns a small business, a barber for instance, I haven't got a haircut since Mike Decker cut it 2 months ago. A barber, how much is he going to have to charge you now to get a haircut? Because he has to change his clothing and wipe down the station and do all this stuff. Hey, dude, a virus cannot spread in that fashion. If I can look that up in their medical documentation going back since they started keeping records, they damn well know it too. But they also know that most of you won't listen to me, and they also know that almost all of you won't look it up for yourself. I have an MD come on every week with me since this entire thing started. He's a psychiatrist, but he's also an MD. And he also got a bachelor's at MIT. He's a really smart dude, and he's one of so very many that have come forward. And you know what? If you haven't followed my channel, if this is the first time you listen to one of my videos, you probably have no idea. Thousands of doctors came out. Just like tens of thousands of physicists and scientists signed petitions about this global warming ruse, including Obama's previous science czar. Most people don't know that because it's on the mainstream. You want drama? Turn on your television. It's a weapon. It's what it was designed for. You want to take your country back? The first step is understanding this is an agenda. Trump was put in place for this exact time. He's not behind it, but he's not behind you either. He's a billionaire. When I become president, the first thing I'm going to do is put Hillary in jail. Really? Because the first thing Trump did, the day he became president, was congratulate Bill and Hillary in front of a bunch of other elites and basically laugh at you. The government is not here to tell you to lock it in your house. If you do that, you're a sucker. I ain't doing that. It ain't happening. It's time to make a decision. Because these old boys, they're making a huge move right now. They couldn't get you to fight? Fine. They'll get a bunch of other people to protest. They'll turn that protest into riots, and they'll bring in the military. Cool. Same result. Did you know that during Hurricane Katrina, troops and law enforcement went door to door, beat up elderly people, and took away their weapons?
Today in New Orleans, they got a lot tougher on the holdouts.
Police department, anyone home?
Not only the flooded areas, but New Orleans' driest and wealthiest neighborhoods, too.
Police department!
The police and National Guard going street by street, house to house.
We need to make sure, too, that whenever we knock on the doors, people refuse to leave. We need to make a note, call it in the corner.
Let me shoot an American.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want you in here.
We're not going to do that.
I don't want you in here, period.
But there's a mandatory evacuation.
I know all about it.
Well, Patricia Coney's protests were to no avail. They moved her out of there, and she is now out of the city.
There was flooding. Did you know that? That's real. That happened. Imagine if someone starts shooting at the National Guard. And in D.C., hell yeah. And if nobody does it, they'll make sure it happens. It's called the New World Order. George Herbert Walker Bush was the first one to talk about it. We've been warning you for years. Let go of the ego. Suck up a little humility, man. We've all been married. We know what it's like to be humiliated. And now let's move on. The wealthy people of this world are trying to take it over completely. America will never be the same unless we stand. We cannot stand divided. Agenda 21, Agenda 2030, Event 201, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, George Soros, the Bilderberg Group, and Operation Bootstrap. Look those up. I'm trying to save your life, and I don't even know you. I'm out.